All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at something that's on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Retirement.
Saving for retirement.
Planning for retirement.
It's a big one.
It really is. And, one of our listeners actually wrote in and gave us some information about their own retirement savings goals.
Interesting.
And I thought this was the perfect opportunity to sort of use that as a jumping off point and really deep dive into, what does it take
Yeah,
to
actually benchmark.
to plan for a comfortable retirement?
Yeah, because it's different for everybody, right?
Yes, it is.
So there's no one size fits all, but we can definitely look at some of these like guidelines and averages and stuff.
Yeah, and I think
Work.
some of the data that you pulled
Yeah.
is from Edward Jones. And just looking at it briefly before we started recording here,
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised to see how much like the suggested savings targets differ based on income levels.
Yeah, I think the Edward Jones data is really interesting. And it really brings to light how important it is to plan for yourself.
Right.
Because, you see these huge numbers.
Yeah.
But the numbers are going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. But before we even get to those numbers,
Yeah.
one thing that I noticed in like everything that you sent over was this real emphasis on liquid savings.
Right.
So like, why is that so important?
Well, I think most people, when they think about retirement, they think of that like,
The big nest egg.
the big nest egg. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, putting money away for the future, which is all very, very important.
Right.
But they don't think about what happens when they actually get to retirement.
Right.
So they get to retirement and they've got this big old nest egg, and that's great. But then
Life happens.
life happens. Yeah. And what if, they want to travel and they want to,
Right.
do all this stuff.
Spoil the grandkids.
Oil the grandkids, exactly. And, enjoy their time. But then, the roof needs to be replaced or there's an unexpected medical bill.
Right.
And so if you don't have that liquid savings
Right.
to kind of take care of those bumps in the road, then you're having to tap into your retirement accounts. Or even worse, going into debt.
Oh, yeah. That's not what you want to be doing.
No, you don't want to be doing that.
Once you're finally in retirement.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like it's really about having that cushion
Yeah,
for those unexpected.
exactly. It's peace of mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk numbers then.
All right.
This Edward Jones data,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they suggest some pretty hefty savings goals here.
Yeah, they're working with some assumptions.
Okay.
So, first of all, they're saying you're going to retire at 65, which is the average retirement age.
That it.
And then they're assuming that you're going to live to 92, which is the average life expectancy,
Okay.
and that you're going to maintain your current spending habits
Okay.
throughout your retirement. So,
Wow.
obviously, if you change your spending habits in retirement, then the numbers are going to change. But they're just saying, okay, if you're spending, whatever amount of money you're spending now,
Right.
you need this much money to be able to do that until you're 92.
To make it last. To make it last.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you look at their numbers, for someone who makes, let's say, $100,000 a year,
Okay.
their suggested range is somewhere between 1.05 and 1.21 million dollars.
Okay.
But then you jump up to $200,000 a year.
Yeah. And it's more than double
Yeah, it's way more.
savings amount.
It jumps up to 2.77 to 3.17 million.
Wow. That's a big jump.
It is a big jump. And so,
Is it just because they're making more money?
I think it's because, like I said, they're assuming that you're going to maintain your current lifestyle.
Okay.
So if you're making $200,000 a year, your spending habits are probably different than someone who's making $100,000.
Okay. So if you're used to a certain standard of living, you
Exactly.
need more to maintain it,
Yeah.
especially as costs are rising, like as we all know.
Especially, you think about inflation,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Exactly. And, that brings me to another point, and this is something else that was mentioned in the material that you sent over.
Yeah.
We've got inflation, we've got healthcare costs that are always rising,
Always rising.
and then, the market, which
Was volatile,
volatile. Exactly.
up and down all the time.
So like, how do those factors play into all of this?
Well, that's the thing. It's not just about hitting that savings number,
Right.
right? It's about making sure that your savings can last and that they can keep up with all of these things.
Yeah.
So inflation is huge because it erodes the purchasing power of your money over time.
Right.
So what seems like a lot of money today
Right.
might not be that much money 20 or 30 years down the road.
Yeah. $1 million today is not what it was
Exactly.
20 years ago.
Exactly. And then healthcare costs are a big concern for a lot of retirees because as we get older, we tend to need more medical care and those costs can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
And then, at the market, you never know what's going to happen. That's right.
Your investments can go up in value, but they can also go down.
Right.
And so you have to kind of factor that in when you're planning for retirement.
So, it sounds like we're talking about not just like hitting a certain savings number,
Right.
but making sure that those savings can weather,
Yeah.
whatever might come your way.
Right. You need to be able to weather those storms.
Exactly.
And this is where strategic investing comes in.
Okay.
So, diversifying your portfolio across different asset classes
Okay.
can help mitigate some of that risk.
Right.
And then also, thinking about long-term healthcare costs
Yeah.
and making sure that you have a plan for that, whether it's, long-term care insurance or
Yeah.
setting aside money specifically for that purpose.
Right. Yeah, those are things that people don't often think about.
Right.
I feel like when you're in your, 20s, 30s,
Exactly. It's not.
40s, it just feels like it's so far off.
Yeah, it's so far off.
Another thing, and this kind of goes back to that nest egg thing. Yeah.
A lot of people see their home as their biggest asset,
Absolutely.
so.
And for many Americans, home equity makes up a significant portion of their net worth.
So what's the role of home equity in retirement?
Well, the problem with home equity is that it's not liquid,
Okay.
right? You can't just
Not cash.
Yeah, you can't just access it easily. So, selling your home or taking out a reverse mortgage might not be ideal.
Right.
Or even possible, especially if you want to stay in your home.
Yeah, if you want to age in place, which a lot of people, are hoping to do.
Exactly.
So it's not something you can necessarily count on.
Right. It's not something you should rely on solely
Right.
for retirement income.
So again, kind of goes back to don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Diversify.
Well, this has been a really fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered so much.
We did.
We talked about the importance of having those liquid savings.
Right.
We talked about the savings targets that Edward Jones suggests, and why they're different for different income levels.
Right.
We talked about all these, curveballs that can be thrown your way.
The what ifs.
The what ifs, exactly. Inflation, healthcare costs.
The market.
All of that. And then we talked about home equity.
Right.
And it's not always as straightforward as people think.
Exactly.
So for those of you listening,
Yeah.
Kind of the big question here is knowing all of this.
Yeah.
What steps can you take today to start working towards a comfortable retirement?
Right.
Maybe it's starting small.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like looking at your budget,
Yeah.
seeing if there are places you can cut back and put a little bit more aside each month.
Exactly.
Maybe it's looking into some different investment strategies.
Right.
Or, maybe it's even talking to a financial advisor
Yeah.
to get some personalized advice.
That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is, whatever that next step is for you, just remember, the journey to a comfortable retirement starts today.
It really does.
And the sooner you start,
The better off you'll be.
the better off you'll be.
Absolutely.
All right. That's it for this